All right, we've got a patron series request from Santa of the Sea. Yeah, I don't know his actual real name. I mean, I guess it's possible that's his real name, but let's just go with logic here and say that it's not. So, whatever his name is, we've got Santa of the Sea requesting the Blade franchise with Blade 2, Blade Trinity, and that's all he requested. But I was like, dude, you paid top dollar, no joke, for this review. And I actually happen to own this and have never seen it. So I said, you should get the whole damn thing. So we got the Blade TV series starring Sticky Fingers. We shall see. We shall see what that's like. But yeah, so, you pay top dollar and you want a fucking, a series review like this, and there's a TV series that goes along with it, then you sure as shit should get it. So, all right. So this predates the MCU by a good amount. How good of amount, I don't remember. I should have looked up what year this was beforehand. I always do this. It was a good while before. Anyway, all right. So this movie starts in 1967. Sure as hell wasn't made that long ago. That at least I know. I want to say this is what? Is this the 90s? Or is this the early 2000s? I'm going to say it's in the 2000s, but I really don't remember. So we've got Wesley Snipes playing Blade, which was like the perfect casting of the time for sure. Like if anyone was going to play Blade back then, it was Wesley Snipes. There's just no contest. So perfect casting there. Now, of course, we have the Blade series announced over at Marvel with the MCU. Whether or not that's going to be a film or a TV series, I'm unsure. Either way, I'm down, obviously. And Mahershala Ali being cast as Blade, another fantastic casting. I mean, I really feel like, damn. He's a better actor than Wesley Snipes. Let's get that shit real straight, real fast. So he'll definitely be able to outact him where it calls for that. But, let's be honest. This movie doesn't really call for a ton of it. It just needs Wesley Snipes to be badass and kick a bunch of vampires' asses. So, he really pulls that off. This first movie, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I was impressed. My memory of this movie is shoddy. Like, I remember I liked it, but it's better than I remember. It's really good. It's really good. It's dated, and some of the CG and some of the choices with it is pretty bad. Some of the performances, namely Donald Loge, I always forget how to say his name, which I don't dislike him usually. I actually really like him in Gotham, and there's places that I like him for sure. But here, he's unnervingly annoying. Like, every time he tries to deliver that bad guy, line, where he's just like, he's so over the top, and you're like, tone it down a little bit. Jesus. So, that can get a tad annoying. Now, we got Stephen Dorff here as the head vampire here. Well, the main villain. He's not a head vampire, but you know what I mean. The head vampire of the film, the main villain of the film. And big Dorff fan. My favorite Stephen Dorff films for sure is the movie Botched, which I can't recommend highly enough for a horror comedy. It's definitely up there as one of my favorites and is never, ever talked about anywhere ever. So that's one that I'm like, please, 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 everybody watch it. And I covered it on the channel. Yeah, I must have. Great film. We've got Chris Christopherson in here. And, he's not in it a ton. Spoilers, obviously. But he dies I mean, not super quick, but quicker than you would expect. Quicker than you would expect for sure. I was, even on this watch, I thought he made it to the second movie, so I'll be curious on what happens in the second movie that makes me think that he's in it. I swear he is, though. It's been a long time since I've watched this franchise, so he's in the second one. How he's in the second one, I mean, we never see him shoot himself, so I guess technically he might not have. I swear he's in the second one, though, isn't he? Yeah, he's right there. This is the second one, right? Yeah, okay, so he is in the second one. Yeah, I couldn't remember how he was in it, though. So, yeah, Whistler does come back. I just can't remember how. Is he a vampire? Fuck if I remember. Okay, but I'll look forward to it in the next one. We even got Tracy Lords in here for a minute, which is great to see. I love Tracy Lords as an actress. I really do. Like, I always love to see her. Whether it's in a John Waters film or a freaking Excision or here, anywhere I see her, I'm just like, yeah, Tracy Lords is in this. I just dig her as an actress. It's always fun to see her. And then you've got Udo Kier here, who I swear is in every fucking movie. Every fucking movie I watch. I'm like, oh, Udo's in this as well. Even when you like go back years and years and years ago and you're watching something like Suspiria or something, you're like, Udo Kier's in this fucking thing too? Or, you know, Rob Zombie's Halloween, or like, fucking doesn't matter, man. You throw out a title and it's like, Udo Kier's got like a 50-50 chance of being in the damn movie. The dude is in everything. It's crazy. He must, I gotta look at this guy's credits, like his IMDb page, because his credits have gotta be out of control. He's gotta be in fucking 300 films. It's, yeah, I honestly, like, in the last month, I feel like he's been in almost every movie I've watched. Like, every time I watch a movie, I just see his name pop up on the screen. I'm like, this movie too? Seriously? Jesus Christ, man. This guy gets around, let me tell you. All right, so we get this opening at, like, a vampire rave called Bloodbath. And it seems like it's a great introduction to the character. They spend zero time on an origin story. Like, we spend about, the opening credits is our introduction to Blade, and you have to think that Blade is a new character to the audience that doesn't read comic books. So like, they're moving at breakneck speed introducing you to this guy. It's pretty wild, actually. Like, having watched it this time, knowing the character, but also having to like kind of step back and looking at it more from a critical perspective. When I do these videos, I always like to just kind of like pay a little closer attention than maybe I normally would to like every single thing, to the best of my abilities, of course. And I was like, man, do I feel like anyone would be lost? No. But I also don't feel like there's much hand-holding here. It's kind of like, I'm a daywalker, they're vampires, this is what I can do, this is what they can do, okay, we're going, moving, action, 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 the end. It's like, whoa, okay, there is no origin. There's no, like, how did Blade become Blade? Like, they kind of just figure you can fill in those blanks. There's not a lot to fill in, to be completely honest, and they give enough here. But I'm just so used to like the first hour of any of these first movies. I mean, look at Iron Man or look at Batman Begins, and those are two masterpieces to me. I think they're fucking phenomenal films. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that typically it takes Bruce Wayne a long time to don the cowl, you know, before he comes down and grabs somebody and goes, I'm Batman. You know, it's like Blade is like front and center. Like 2 seconds into this damn movie, he's kicking vampire ass, and we get like no flashbacks. There's no like Blade as a kid, Blade training. Who trained Blade? You know, where'd Blade come from? All this stuff. It's like his mom was bit. We know that. Chris Christopherson's Whistler, found him when he was like 13 or something. Like, we get like these little tiny bits of dialogue or opening sequences that maybe amount to a minute and a half. And that's it, which is fine. Totally fine. You can do it the Batman Begins way. I mean, not every director is Christopher Nolan, so, of course, that's going to vary depending. But, I mean, you can nail that, and then you can take something like this, and you can nail that as well. So I'm glad that they don't in here, because this is such a fast-paced film, and the pacing is one of the strongest aspects of this movie, for sure. The bloodbath rave in the opening, while cool and very reminiscent of an American Werewolf in Paris, when they kind of get everyone in there, except for it only seems like there's one guy that's in there for the feast. Like they have sprinkler systems filled with blood, but then they bring in like one extra body for what, 200 vampires in the room? Like what would that even matter? Like, you have sprinklers filled with blood, and don't you feel like that seems like a tremendous waste of blood? Like, these guys are having cops go rob blood banks all over town because, you know, blood is scarce and killing a bunch of people brings too much attention and this and that. So, like, blood should be, you know, coveted, right? But they're just spraying it. I guess that kind of is a testament to Frost's character, that he's just very careless and reckless, and he wants to, you know, his exposure, he doesn't really care how much there is, whatever. Like, okay, I kind of get that, but at the same time, this dude would even be like, all right, we probably shouldn't just pour it down the drain. Like, we shouldn't just spray it all over everyone so they can bathe in it. I mean, imagine being hungry and then taking a shower in your food and only catching what, like, went in your mouth and maybe what you could, like, scrape off of your body. Like, no one would do that. No one would do that. That's idiotic, right? So I get it. It's a cool looking scene. But when I step back and I go, why would they do that? And why is there only one human in that building? Like, those things just don't make sense. They just don't make sense. As cool as they may appear on film, I have to step back and really look at it objectively and think, like, this makes zero sense. But it's a cool introduction. Blade comes in, kicks everyone's ass, and Donald Oge's character's arm is cut off, what, like 67 times in this movie? So it's kind of like a running gag throughout. And, oh, except for that human that she brings into the nightclub, she hands him her jacket, and he just takes it and throws it, and then starts dancing with another chick. Yeah, they don't really sell me on wanting this guy to live. So I'm not like rooting for him as the human. I'm like, go ahead and kill this guy. I mean, if a girl gives you her jacket, she brought you to this nightclub, you're like trying to get with her, and she hands you her jacket, and then you just throw it, like just take it and throw it behind you, and then just go like try to hook up with some other chick, you're a piece of shit. Like, straight out. So, yeah, I wasn't rooting for the guy for sure. But he's a very short-lived character. Even though he does live, he's short-lived on the screen. And that whole opening sequence, I mean, just the blood sprinklers, all the guys turning into vampires, the dudes screaming as they're coming at him. That's because when Santa here requested this, he was like, well, is this horror enough? Like, I'll pick something else if you don't. Like, that sequence is horror as fuck. Now, of course, I've reviewed plenty of things that aren't horror on the channel at this point, so I wouldn't have really cared. Paying what he paid, he could have requested any series. I don't give a shit what it was, and I would have covered it on the channel, you know? So, but yeah, I think that this opening sequence is very horror. And then it turns into action horror, which is a great subgenre, which we just don't see enough of. But it's a great character intro. Like, this is what we need to know about Blade. We don't really need to know much else, to be honest. Like, he's a daywalker. He has all their powers, none of their weaknesses. He comes in, he kicks ass, and he throws out one-liners that would fucking, you know, make Arnold Schwarzenegger proud. So there you go. That's basically all he needs to be. And that's pretty much all he is. I like when the cops come in and start shooting at him, and he's like, motherfucker, you out of your damn mind? Like, that's another really fun moment and really funny. Made me actually laugh out loud, so it was pretty good. And then Donald Logue, like, he burns up. They bring him to the hospital. He attacks a guy while all crispy and falling apart, and then he jumps out a fucking window through an ambulance. This woman's screaming as he's like screaming at her as a monster, and then jumps out. That shit is horror all day. So anyone who wants to like argue this isn't horror, there's a ton of horror in here. 100%. There's a ton. And I think there's even more in the Guillermo del Toro sequel coming up. So I know most people don't like Trinity, but I'm going to give it its fair shake as always. But yeah, I don't remember it being very good either. But, you know, seeing Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel and all these people will be cool at the bare minimum. The same guy who wrote this movie, David S. Goyer, is the one who wrote and directed Blade Trinity. So I'll be curious. I'll be curious to watch that one. Now, you can stop the change if you catch it early enough with some like liquid garlic, I guess, but they didn't get this one in time. The main girl in this is very throwaway to me. I personally don't find her attractive, like, almost at all. And her character is just kind of blah to me. I'm not really big on her as the love interest, or I don't even know if she's a love interest in this, to be honest. Like, I guess just because she's female, I guess it's supposed to be a love interest in my head, but I mean, there's no romance between them ever. So I take back the love interest angle. God, man, I swear to God, up until I do the reviews, all night I'll be sitting there watching the movies, doing everything that I got, taking my notes, never yawn one motherfucking time. And then I start yapping, blah, 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 and boom, the yawns come out of me. I think it's because when I'm sitting there, I'm not talking, right? And then while I start talking, and it's 1:12 in the morning right now, it starts to like take it out of me, and like I'm speaking a lot, so I need oxygen, whatever. But oh, it's so annoying. I can feel it. Okay, I've talked about it enough on the channel. Moving on. We got purebloods here, and of course this makes me think of Harry Potter. Like, at any moment I thought someone was going to call Frost a mudblood, and I thought he was going to fucking freak out on him. And then you got the familiars, which are wannabe vampires, and they like work for the police department. They're tattooed. Like, if you want to be part of a secret underground cult, don't get their symbol tattooed on you as an obvious tell, and don't put that symbol up on buildings so that people who are looking for you can find you. This seems like super rookie mistake kind of shit that these like head vampires are making. So I mean, I get it, it's convenient for a film, but you know, speaking realistically, that seems like a dumb thing. Yeah. You don't want to be known. I like how he goes and he uses her as bait, and then he goes and he like takes the guy and he's like busting up her place for no reason. He's like smashing some like little bookcase she has, and then her table, and she's like, is that necessary? This reminds me of a fucking hilarious sequence from one of the funniest movies ever made that no one ever discusses, and it's a parody movie. It's a slapstick parody movie from the 90s called National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon Volume 1. Volume 1 or Part 1? Part 1? I think Part 1. With Emilio Estevez and Samuel Jackson, John Lovitz. Holy fuck, this movie is so funny. And there's an opening sequence where Colt, played by Emilio Estevez, goes into this convenience store, and these guys are, you know, about to rob it. And Colt like goes in, you know, as cop and goes to help. And he completely destroys the entire fucking convenience store. And, you know, they were just going to rob some money out of the register, like not much. And he comes in, he destroys their whole place. And he's like, no need to thank me. And they're yelling at him like, fuck you. Like, what'd you do to our place? Like, I always think that's funny, because it's like, dude, you did more. Like, that happens in so many movies where it's like, you did more damage, like cost-wise, than those dudes would have stole out of the register. Like, so I like that here where he's just smashing around the room. I'm like, dude, like, that's not necessary. Like, this is her shit. This is her house. This is her place. Like, what are you doing? You have, like, no respect for other people's shit, man. Really bad style choices here, too. There's a lot of sped up footage, where they're like car chases and stuff. Awful. Just awful. I was like, why are you doing this? Don't do this. Just regular speed's fine. Like, why the sped up stuff? Dreadful choices. Dates the film. The style is not cool. It never was gonna be. So I was like, why are we doing this? This is a bad idea. Then we got the fat record keeper character. I can't remember what they call that thing, but what the fuck? That feels like something out of Guillermo del Toro's vision. Like, I was surprised to see it here. I was like, oh man, this is something I feel like I should be seeing in the second one. But what the fuck is that thing, man? That looked like that was straight out of that movie, Feed. You ever watch that movie, Feed? You want to talk about a sickening horror flick, man. It's more like a thriller, but it's like a guy that gets off on like feeding women to death, and they're like big and fat, and he just keeps getting them bigger and bigger, and this guy's like, this detective or something is like chasing him down. It is a very disturbing movie. It's like a lot of footage of like fat women eating and being like sexed up during it. Like, ugh, bleh. I didn't know exactly what to say in that. I sexed up. That works. Seems stupid, but it works for the moment. So I'm gonna go with sexed up. Stupid as that sounds. We get the vampire Bible in here. The Bible is what I was gonna call it. The vampire Bible. The Bible. They have them like hanging in this room, and I guess it's like their ancient sacred text. But then Blade just starts kicking motherfuckers through it, tearing up the pages. You know, text that can never ever be, retrieved or gotten back. And no one seems to have an issue with it. Although I guess all those guys are on Frost's side, and he has them all like photocopied, and he's already like deciphered all of the ancient text. And I guess you just need one little piece of it to essentially, and the little hard drive. And with that, I guess they got the whole, like, he's trying to resurrect some blood god. Not sure why they needed the paper when he had the hard drive, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't even know why Blade needs to know this information. He doesn't really need to know it. Like, they just take him there, and Frost kind of tells him everything. So it's not really impertinent information for him to know. Grabs onto a moving train, dislocates his shoulder, which mirrors the shoulder dislocation of the Doctor earlier in the movie. They get to kind of pay each other back for that. That's pretty ridiculous, but Blade is a superhero of sorts, so, if he can do all the other shit in this movie, why can't he grab a moving train? Although I feel like this would have broken her body from just the velocity being pulled in a different direction so fast. But, whatever. And then you've got the sunlight death of Udo Kier, and that death is awesome. There's a lot of really cool deaths in this. A lot of like exploding bodies, like the blood coagulant they stick in those two guys, and then they puff up. And then of course the blood coagulant death of Frost, or the blood god as he is at that point, and he just blows up, he finally explodes like something out of Big Trouble in Little China. Great stuff there. And the sunlight death is really graphic and super great. Them putting on sunscreen, that's cute. Sure, I guess, why not? One thing I always hate in movies is prophecies. I hate them. I fucking hate them. Like, oh, you're the chosen one, and let's go see if this fulfills the prophecy, and the this, and the one, and all. Oh my God, how many fucking times can we do this in a movie? How many times can we do this in a fantasy or, sci-fi or whatever? Like, enough with the prophecies. And the people foresaw that there would be the one, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck all that. Like, where can we get the movie of the people who wrote that book, of the prophecy? Like, we never get their story. I am so sick of all of these people. Like, they always like have these books. We need more movies where a person is going around and cataloging and learning what the monsters are, figuring them out, fighting them, knowing nothing about their weaknesses, whatever. You know, maybe like 20 of them, and then like one dies off here and there. It'd be a great TV series. Like get a bunch of monster hunters, and they go out and they're actually making these books of like how to defeat these things. And every episode you get a new monster, and they try to defeat it, and towards the end they figure out how to defeat it, and then they like add it to this book. And then that book, you know, this is like a timepiece where they like figure these things out, and then that book will be used by people later on, like in these movies, who conveniently get to find out, like, say these words and put salt down around it and this and that. It's like, but what about the people who wrote this? That shit seems way more interesting to me. How the fuck did they figure that out? You know, like the prophecy thing, fuck all that. That's just such lazy bullshit to me at this point. Like, oh, he's the one. He's prophesized. Like, oh, fuck off. Like, for some reason, it just drives me crazy. It's because it's overused. Anything that's overused, I'm always just like, okay, we get it. So, just enough with the prophecy bullshit. I'm over it. Everyone is fucking the chosen one. All right. We get the plot twist here that Blade's mom's still alive, and Frost has been, you know, keeping her in a little chamber, and they've been eating people together and fucking people, fucking each other, and you know, and he ends up having to kill his own mom. I guess a cold heart is not a dead heart, because he, you know, his coldness, what made him make the right decision here to execute that bitch, which he did. And Blade drinks from this chick, and it almost kills her, but then 5 minutes later she's fighting people with shotguns and is totally fine. So I don't know, I guess she brought a bunch of blood with her for a blood transfusion. I don't know. She seems to be totally fine though. The mom's a bitch, so as I said, I'm glad she's dead. And I'm not really understanding the whole, like, there needs to be like 13 original vampires like standing around the blood god, but they kill Udo Kier before this, and then the hot blonde chick vampire, she like executes another one of them in the room, and it's like, maybe you should stop killing all these guys since they're so important to your little master plan here, bringing back the blood god. Like, I thought they needed every one of them to complete this along with Blade, but I guess they only need some of them? They need how many? Like, did he say, okay, you can kill one of them, we only need this many, so one can go, so like wait till someone talks shit to you and then kill that guy as an example? Like, was that a conversation that took place off screen, or did it not matter how many there were? Or that was very, very confusing to me. And okay, so the most badass sequence, or the most badass moment in this entire film, and this is something that's probably completely overlooked by most people who ever watched this. So Blade goes straight up Dalton from Roadhouse on this guy, okay? Grabs his throat, rips it out, which actually reminds me that Swayze and Snipes are in To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. So, with John Leguizamo, right? Been a long time since I've seen that fucking movie. But anyways, he goes Dalton, grabs the guy's throat, rips it out, right? Which is just so badass, right? And then they cut, and it's like him running forward, and then he takes something and he throws it in another guy's face, and that like knocks the guy backwards. He fucking rips a guy's throat out and then uses that guy's throat as a projectile to stun somebody so he can beat them up. He rips a guy's throat out and then throws it at another guy. That's about as badass as a character could possibly get. How many movies you seen a guy fucking, like in the middle of a fight, rip someone's throat out and throw it at the other guy's face? That is, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Like, it happens so fast you barely notice it, but like I saw it and I was like, did he just rip that fucking guy's throat out and throw it in that other guy's face? That's amazing. So I don't know. I've never heard anyone mention it, and I was really, really like impressed and was amused heavily by that. Then he has his like finishing line here, which is motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. I don't know. That's no stick around or anything. Like, I think Arnold could do better. I think fucking Mr. Freeze has better lines than that. So, not the best. Not the best. He still delivers it with some fervor, but yeah, I don't know. It's not the great line. The Blood God does not last very long, so I'm kind of unimpressed with this Blood God. He does not get my vote. And then they get out of there after killing the Blood God, and Blade ends up in Russia, like in some fucking Quantum of Solace ending, and he's gonna kick some Russian ass, some comrade ass. And we'll see if that plays into the second movie. I doubt it, but we'll see. So thank you to Santa of the Sea. I really appreciate your donation, and I look forward to watching Blade 2 tomorrow. So have a good night. Adios.